The Essendon was the first railway on the island. They built a bridge connecting Sodor and Britain. Total, there were 6 engines. Clive was number 1. Neil was number 2. Matthew was number 3. Patrick was number 4. And Jim was number 5. Number 6 stayed in his old tree grouping number 219. He had no name, but they called him Power. The sheds were built shortly after the line's opening, and after they finished the rails to Kirk Ronan, the engines worked hard. Patrick, although the same class as the other 3, was younger. He had not been built till after the Skarloey Railway had opened up. All the engines worked hard, Jim being the main express engine once he arrived, and Power taking over the heavy freight. The box tanks worked the line quite well, and they never complained, nor did they ever get complaints. Though the box tanks were not the strongest, they did their job, no matter what, and always willing to help people. The railway predated the Skarloey and the Mid-Sodor. However, Patrick is younger than Skarloey and Rheneas. This is due to the fact of him being built after the railway had opened. All the engines worked hard. I'm sad to say, not many are left in this day of age. But back then, they didn't care what weather came, what the times were. They just wanted to work. And I'll tell you, those little engines were the hardest working engines there ever were on the island. They did other things too. They had the first chute on the railway, which Neil preferred than having the workmen load by hand. Like I mentioned before, Patrick was built on the island, making him the first Sudrian engine ever built. On the island, that is. And he was quite proud of it, but not boastful. The 4 box tanks, before Jim and Power arrived, worked hard together. Sometimes double, triple, or even 4 heading a train. 2 would be at the front, and 2 would be at the back. These trains were the longest, and they'd usually go first in the morning, not to interrupt passenger schedules. When Jim arrived, it became much easier, and Power even easier later on. But until then, the 4 box tanks would handle the work together. However, not shortly after Patrick had been built, another engine arrived. He was rude. He was built for the Ballyhoo Railway. The others warned him, "You best be careful. You're arrogant and rude. You're cocky. Something will happen to you. Just wait and see," they warned. "Ha!" laughed the engine. "Nothing will happen to me." Neil was stern with him one night. "Be careful. I'm warning you. Something's gonna happen, and it's gonna lead to your downfall." "Ha! My railway's not even open yet. What can happen?" "That's what I fear." The engine was rather rude, to put it nicely. He didn't care. His railway had not opened yet, and they used a special tanker for weed killer. Very flammable. As for the engine, his temper was flammable, derailing trucks all the time. Terrible. One night, Neil told him, "If you're not careful, you'll kill everyone around you." "Ha!" And the engine hurried away with a goods train to finish building his railway. Neil was at the station one night. The engine had passed by until the sky was red. The engine had crashed into that tanker that was flammable. Edward would tell stories of ghosts, number 1 being the inspiration. It's sad to think that engine really was the downfall of his own railway, and it hadn't even opened yet.